So I'm Michelle Mitchell, but I actually started my career as a classroom teacher, which was a beautiful place to start, but I only lasted 4 years. And it was because really when I looked around at some of my colleagues, I realised that they were a lot more passionate about maths and English than I was. I didn't really care if E was on the end of the word or not. But I soon found a real love for wellbeing and for kids' happiness. And so I quit teaching at the ripe age of, I think it was about 24. I founded a charity and I ended up with a psychology clinic. We were on site at schools, we had a private practice, but just helping hundreds of families every week. When I was a teenager, I had some really rough years, and I was one of those ones who was fortunate enough to have people around me just to steady the ship as I went and get me through to those adult years in one piece. But when I started my work in schools with kids at risk of dropping out of education, I realised that wasn't the case for every kid. The answer to being proactive about your mental health is so underwhelming and so boring, it's unbelievable. It really is like building a house, and if the foundations aren't right, the whole house gets wobbly. And so I think sometimes we go and we take ourselves to therapy, or I see young people getting on medication, but the baseline isn't even right. So things like all the things that mum tells you, diet, sleep, movement, connecting with the right people, they're like the foundations of our house. And if we can get that structure right, it can actually shift the needle by at least 20% in our lives, which means it can empower us to keep moving forward. So if I'm under the weather and I'm not right, the first thing I look at is what's the foundation and what's the structure like. And for me, it's normally making sure that I'm waking up at the same time every morning, not so much worrying about when I go to sleep, but getting my body clock set in the morning and making sure that I'm moving in some way every day and I'm not behind a computer too much. I'm very grateful for my family and those that are really close to me in my life that I know that I can lean on when I need them. But I'm also grateful for little things like, I don't know, the sunshine does it for me. I love sunshine. I love a good coffee and chocolate. I just do. And I love green grass. It just floats my boat. So things like that, that I come across every day that I know that I can let my heart engage with, that's what I'm grateful for. I feel like the cost of not addressing and dealing with mental health is normally a breakdown in the relationships around your life. And I think there is a great cost at not listening to people who really love you. And I think that when we're not going very well ourselves, the temptation is to isolate ourselves and block ourselves away from the wisdom of other people. So I think that's where the cost lies, because the moment our relationships break down, there's a part of our heart that crumbles with that. Purpose is such an interesting thing. Discovering your purpose is something that sounds a bit woohoo and like mystical sometimes. I'm a really weird one because I feel like ever since I was a child, I was almost like discovering this blueprint that was already inside of me, and I had a really strong sense of that, but not everyone does. And sometimes I'll sit with, young boys and say to them, look, stop trying to find your purpose under a chair or, down the creek, and choose your purpose. Choose where you're going to put your foot next, because in that choice will become another choice and another choice. And I think that's where you find environments that you connect to. I also think that purpose is a lot broader than our work. I think we get so caught up in what career we're going to choose, when really our purpose has got a lot more to do with who we are and what we bring to whatever work environment we're in.